Breaking: Celtics make absurd offer for young Western Conference star and shock the NBA. Imagine you, Celtics fan, waking up to the news that the team made an absurd offer for a young star from the West. The first thing that comes to mind is, are they going to sell the future again? Will it happen now, or is it just another empty rumor? If you're tired of seeing this team hit the goalposts every year, stay with me, because in this video, I'm going to show you who this star is, what the proposal was, what the Celtics risk, what they can gain, and most importantly, if this trade really brings the team closer to the long-awaited next NBA title. Before we get into the details of this absurd proposal, let's do the following. If you breathe the NBA, love the Celtics, or just enjoy watching these trading soap operas catch fire, subscribe to the channel here and leave a like, because this shows YouTube that you enjoy this type of content and helps me bring more videos like this to you. Also take advantage and activate the bell so you don't miss any hot rumors like this. Seriously, there could be an update on this negotiation at any time, and I'll bring everything here. Now come with me to the end, because I'm going to show you step by step whether this trade makes sense, who could be coming, who could be leaving, and how this changes the Celtics' future in the title fight. Let's go. When we look at the Boston Celtics today, you can feel that the team is finding its identity again. It's not just the final score. It's not just the win and loss column. It's the feeling that, little by little, the team is returning to playing like a true title candidate, even in the midst of doubts, injuries, and important decisions knocking on the front office's door. The campaign was once again positive, the team once again surpassed the 50% success rate, and that 117-114 victory over the Detroit Pistons, breaking the opponent's 13-game winning streak, wasn't just another regular season game. It was a message, a reminder that when Boston fits, it is one of the most dangerous teams in the league. And at the center of it all is Jaylen Brown. In recent matches, he has played like someone who perfectly understands the weight of the shirt he wears and the responsibility he has assumed. There are more than 30 points on average in this recent clip, with consistent contributions and rebounds, assists, and important defenses. It's not just empty statistics, it's leadership on the court. It's him taking on the role of protagonist while Jayson Tatum is still recovering, holding the team together in moments when the ball weighs the most. However, behind this good moment, there is a question that never leaves the mind of anyone who follows the team closely. How far can this squad, the way it is assembled today, go? Not just this season, but in the next title window. It is this type of reflection that drives the board, debates among fans, and, of course, many discussions in the media. And that's exactly where the name that is starting to gain space in conversations comes in: Trey Murphy III. The spark that reignites the discussion recently, Bill Simmons brought up a trade idea that added even more fuel to the fire. On his podcast, he raised the possibility of the Boston Celtics going after a young rising star in the Western Conference. New Orleans Pelicans wing Trey Murphy III. It wasn't thrown into the air like an unrealistic fantasy. Simmons put together a trade structure that, at least in theory, would make sense for both sides. On Boston's side, there would be the expiring contract of Anfernee Simons, the young Hugo Gonzalez, and a package of first-round picks and pick exchange possibilities. On the New Orleans side, a player would arrive who has been quietly but consistently attracting attention: Murphy. When you look at Trey Murphy III, you don't just see a promising player. We see a profile that matches exactly what the modern NBA values: a winger with size, the ability to space the court, defend multiple positions, and still bring energy in transition. He's the type of player who doesn't attract attention because he's noisy, but because he's efficient. The one that you realize, little by little, is always in the right place, at the right time. Recent averages speak for themselves. Close to 20 points per game, more than 6 rebounds, good contribution in assists, and an interesting number of steals. And all of this with solid shooting performance. He's not just a scorer, he's someone who understands the game, reads situations well, and fits into different tactical contexts. And then, of course, comes the question I know you're asking yourself: is it worth paying so much for it? Looking at what Boston would gain, let's imagine together for a moment. Think about the Boston Celtics you've seen on the court. Strong defense when it's concentrated, attack flowing better when the ball passes through the hands of Brown, White, and when he's healthy, Tatum. Now, add to this scenario a wingman Jay Young, 25 years old, capable of scoring taller players from the perimeter, running the court in transition and punishing any defense that leaves him open at the three-point line. Trey Murphy is not the type of reinforcement who arrives to change the franchise alone. He is, however, the type of piece that can transform a good team into a more complete, more versatile, and more difficult-to-score team in a playoff series. In defense, he offers wingspan, lateral mobility, and discipline. He's the type of defender you can use to make automatic switches at almost any position, something the Celtics have liked to do for years. It does not disorganize the system. On the contrary, it reinforces the team's trademark style of collective defense. In attack, Murphy does not require the ball in his hands all the time to be productive. He cuts well towards the basket, knows how to move without the ball, opens up spaces for stars, and punishes defenses that collapse on Brown and Tatum. It is a complement, not an obstacle. Instead of blocking the attack, it brings fluidity. When you look at the fit, you realize that it's not just about adding talent. It's about adding the right kind of talent. In a team where there are already two established stars, what matters most is to surround them with players who enhance their strengths and cover some of the squad's needs. In many ways, Murphy seems designed for this, what Boston would have to give up. Now, of course, every time an exchange scenario of this size arises, you can't just look at what arrives. You have to honestly face what comes out. Anthony Simons is a player who offers scoring, occasional creation, and most importantly, a contract that opens up room for maneuver for the future. Having an expiring salary is like having an ace up your sleeve in a league where financial flexibility is as important as talent. Hugo Gonzalez represents something different, the future. A young man still in development who may not immediately impact the team at a high level, but who shows flashes of potential. In an ideal scenario, he is the type of athlete you like to keep around, develop, see evolve under a high-level culture, and in addition to them, first-round picks come into play. And here lies one of the greatest pains of any fan. Giving up picks is, in a way, giving up possibilities. These are players who still have no face, but who carry the idea of the future, of renewal, of opportunities that could perhaps become great stories. So the dilemma is inevitable. Do you trade part of the future for a player who appears ready to help now and in the years to come? Boston is right at that decision point. The team is not a rebuilding team, nor is it an aging cast that is trying for one last gasp. It is in a rare phase, with stars at their physical peak, with room to evolve even further, and with the responsibility of not wasting this window. When a franchise finds itself in this place, big decisions appear, and they are almost never easy. The balance between present and future. Let's talk about something that often goes overlooked. The responsibility of a franchise that has two stars on the level of Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Having talents like that is no guarantee of a title. The league's history is full of talented teams that fell by the wayside. What makes the difference often is how the board builds the cast around these pieces. If Boston decides to go all in on Trey Murphy III, the message is clear. We are willing to invest heavily to maximize this core now. This means accepting to pay a high price in picks, young talent, and flexibility to try to strengthen the title chances as much as possible in this cycle. On the other hand, there is always the understandable fear of going too far, of repeating past mistakes, of trading too much for a player who may not be enough to move the team up a whole step. It is this delicate balance that makes debates like this last so long among fans, analysts, and, of course, within the organization itself. And in the midst of all this, you, who follow game after game, experience a mix of excitement and fear. Because while the idea of adding a young, athletic, versatile, and growing player is exciting, the possibility of seeing picks and promises leaving also bothers. Why Murphy talks Celtics identity? One thing that I consider essential, and that I know you also notice, is cultural fit. It's not enough for a player to be good. It needs to match how the team plays and what the team values. Today's Celtics, even with their inconsistencies, have very clear hallmarks: strong defense, ball rotation, versatility, and a preference for players who contribute on more than one side of the court. It is no coincidence that the franchise has insisted year after year on wingers who defend, shoot from outside, and understand the game without necessarily monopolizing possession. Murphy fits precisely into this mold. He is someone who does not need to be the owner of the team. He is not enough to compete for protagonism with Tatum and Brown, but rather to enhance them. He helps cover the wear and tear of the stars, takes on defensive responsibilities, offers outside shooting, fills spaces on the court that currently require either more minutes from starters or improvised solutions. And there's an interesting detail. He's at the perfect age to grow with this group. At 25 years old, he is no longer a rookie, but he is also not a player at the end of his prime. He's entering the most productive phase of his career, which directly aligns with Tatum and Brown's timeline. This is fundamental. There is no point in bringing in someone much older who will harm the future, nor someone so young who needs years to consolidate. The human side behind the statistics. When we talk about trades, it's common to get stuck in numbers, contracts, advanced statistics, and projections. All of this is important, of course, but there is a human side that also needs to be considered. Think about what it means for a player like Jaylen Brown to carry the team through a stretch of games, take the lead, respond to criticism, handle pressure, and yet know that to get to the ultimate goal, he might need more help. Not because he or Tatum aren't talented enough, but because the NBA, at the title level, is ruthless. Champion squads usually have depth, versatility, and complementary pieces that fit together very well. Now also, think about what it means for a young man like Trey Murphy to hear his name involved in trade rumors to a team like the Celtics. It's a mix of recognition and uncertainty. On the one hand, it is proof that he is seen as someone capable of influencing a title race. On the other, it is the possibility of completely changing your life, city, game system, role within a team. When we bring this human side to the conversation, we better understand the weight of the decision. We're not just talking about a board piece being moved. There are careers, narratives, expectations, and dreams at stake. Where the Celtics are today, and where they want to go, Boston's current scenario is not one of despair. The team is winning again, the rotation is starting to take shape, and Jaylen Brown is showing that he can be an offensive anchor when needed. The defense, when it is connected, is still one of the most uncomfortable in the league. Tatum, gradually returning, tends to return the team to an even higher level. However, the NBA does not forgive those who stand still in time. The other franchises are moving around, adjusting rosters, adding talent, testing new combinations. Getting too comfortable can be dangerous. At the same time, acting on impulse can be costly. It is in this middle ground that Boston finds itself. It is not a team that needs to blow everything up and start over, far from it. But it's also not a team that can simply ignore an opportunity to add someone like Trey Murphy III if the internal assessment is that he's the type of piece they're missing. Therefore, this possibility of exchange does not disappear from the table easily. It will continue to be discussed, analyzed, and compared to other paths that the franchise can follow. Maybe it will never happen. Maybe it's just an idea that circulates in the media and in conversations among fans. But the fact that she makes so much sense in terms of fit, age, profile, and playing style explains why she isn't dismissed quickly. In the end, what is the central question? Perhaps the big question is not just, is Trey Murphy worth the price, but rather, are the Boston Celtics willing to invest heavily in a piece that seems tailor-made for this roster, even if it comes at the cost of draft picks and young talent? There is no simple answer. Whether you are more conservative or more aggressive in relation to exchanges, it is impossible not to see the arguments on both sides. On one hand, maintaining picks, youth, and flexibility preserves the future and keeps the door open for other moves. On the other hand, taking advantage of Brown's phase, Tatum's gradual return, and the chance to reinforce the rotation with a high-quality winger could be the difference between getting close and, finally, winning the title. What can be safely said is that Murphy represents exactly the type of player that teams with title ambitions are looking for: young, productive, versatile, with room to grow, and in line with what the modern NBA demands. And while the board thinks, while analysts debate, and while fans imagine what it would be like to see Tatum, Brown, and Murphy sharing the court, one thing becomes clear. The Boston Celtics are at a decisive moment in their recent trajectory, not because you need to save yourself from a disaster, but because you are very close to something big. And in moments like this, every choice counts. Whether this exchange will happen or not, only time will tell. But the simple fact that we are discussing Trey Murphy III's name so seriously in Boston already shows how he is seen within the league, not just as another good player, but as a piece capable of changing the shape of a title race. And for a team that balances present and future, this type of possibility is never ignored. So, in the end, the question that remains is simple and at the same time gigantic. Will the Boston Celtics have the courage to take this step and bet on Trey Murphy III as a key player in the next title race, or will they hold on to what they have and trust that the current squad is enough? If this exchange happens, we could be talking about one of those moves that change the course of a franchise for years. If it doesn't happen, every performance by Murphy in New Orleans and every close game by the Celtics in the playoffs will be analyzed with that question in mind. What if? It's this type of scenario that separates teams that just compete from teams that are truly trying to dominate the league. And if you want to continue closely following every possibility, every hot rumor, every detailed analysis about the present and future of the Boston Celtics, don't stop here. As soon as you finish this video, go to the pinned comment and click on the Celtics Analyses playlist. There I delve deeper into this type of discussion, break down exchange scenarios, talk about tactical adjustments, player performance, and everything that can bring this team closer to another banner at the top of the TD Garden. So don't forget, you're done here. Go down to the pinned comment, open the Celtics Analysis playlist, and continue with me on this journey. If the Celtics really are about to take a bombastic step, you will know and understand every detail there.